The West Virginia Mountaineers drop another road loss to Baylor. This team's crashing and burning, fellas.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is Locked On West Virginia, brought to you by FanDuel. You know the deal. Go to FanDuel, win the bet, and you get 150 in bonus bets. That's if you win. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. This is a frustrating loss for the Mountaineers here, and there's no two ways about it at this point. This team is in a slump, and a big one at that. I wrote some things down as to what I feel like is going on with this team. So let's kind of get after it a little bit here. So, like I said, this team's officially in a slump, in my opinion. Which means, like, you've lost what now? I think you're coming into today 5 of your last 7, so now 6 of your last 8. This team peaked too soon, in my opinion. We peaked early in the year, and that officially went up in smoke about a little over a month ago. This team has kind of run out of gas. When you look at it, I think for whatever reason, the flu bug hit them right after Iowa State, and they haven't recovered, in my opinion. At least the magic hadn't come back. I don't know if it will come back. Teams got data on Javon Small and just generally how West Virginia was running offense. The way teams played Javon earlier in the season, he was coming off ball screens and making decisions. Not now. They're making that was working. So if we let West Virginia do that, we would have been a lot more successful, letting Javon make decisions coming off ball screens downhill. Unfortunately, not the case anymore. You saw the zone all day today where that makes Javon, it gets the ball out of his hands into the middle of the defense, and it gets guys that are lesser passers and distributors. So, and I think the morale's down due to all these close losses. You saw some frustration from Javon in a couple of games this year. And I'm just not sure that he can continue to overcome this stuff. And this team just isn't making the plays to win close games. It's just what it comes down to, man. And it's extremely difficult to watch, and I don't know how they recover from this. Let's look at the box score here. I don't have it pulled up. I'll be totally transparent with you guys. I have something called panic disorder, and I'm in the middle of a brutal panic attack right now that I'm trying to fight through. It's not going so well. So I'm trying to take it slow. Just kind of stick with me, guys. Okay, so Javon Small, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. And that's kind of a, derivative of them getting the ball out of his hands, right? Like, he was able to score, but that distributing part of it, man, like, it's a big deal for this team. I'm sorry, he had 6 assists and 2 rebounds. My apologies. So he did have more assists than I thought, but still, where we thrive is like when Javon was getting downhill and kicking it to guys that could shoot. This team is not the same now, in my opinion. I got to give Tobio Connie his props. He's really stepped up, even though he missed that free throw at the end that, kind of put us in a bad spot. But it's not all on him. Sincere Harris hit a 3 today. That was amusing. We haven't seen him do that much. Jonathan Powell kind of had another off game. He did have 10 rebounds, which is wild. So that's very helpful when he does that. Amani Hansberry, Eduardo Andre definitely got schooled down low today. It was a really bad performance for both those guys. Um, Yesufu kind of average, but I mean, a month ago you took 7 from him, and then you got Tanner Elizabeth and ODA, who it's kind of I mean, KJ didn't even really get to play in this game, so it was a tough game. Langston Love 17 points, Norchad Omie 17 points, Robert Wright 16 points, Celestine 10 points. It was much more spread out for them, and they had many more options to go off of. I think that West Virginia teams have kind of figured us out towards the end of the year, and that's not something that I was sure was going to happen. So the way we were playing, keep bringing Iowa State up, but that's the last time. Maybe Cincinnati was the last time, but the last time this team looked so good that I was like, man, they could do anything. I don't know if there's enough time to get the magic back. And there's a lot of negatives to it, and there's only one positive that I can think of, because I'm still a big Darren DeVries believer. Like, he has gotten us here in spite of. You guys see the product that's on the floor. It's not great, to be honest. Like, Josh Eilert had more than this. He did. Now, did he have a single player as good as Jawan Small? No. But, man, if you would, I would firmly believe if you give Darren DeVries the roster he had, that's a tournament team with Jesse Edwards and those guys. Just my opinion. So, I'm a believer in Darren DeVries going forward, no matter what happens the rest of the year. Even if they, continue to down in this slump, I'm just to be honest, man. I believe in the guy. So, I'll say this too. I think the morale is at an all-time low, and when you have that situation happening, teams can, they can fall out of this chemistry that they're in, because you're so focused on trying to fix the issue, the problem. You become problem oriented instead of solution oriented. And that causes, and these are young guys, man. A lot of them are 20 or younger. It's a high pressure situation. They're getting paid to do it now. And we have a very rabid fan base that's vocal. So, and these guys are having to go cross country on the road to places like Baylor against elite coaches like Scott Drew and Bill Self, and try to pull these wins out with lesser, as far from a bench and talent standpoint, than most of the teams they play. Look at the talent that that Baylor had today compared to us. Like, they had us at almost every position except Javon Small, and Toby Okani, maybe. They had us at the big spot. They had us at both big spots, 4 and 5, and on the bench. So we've been really, I feel like, winning in spite of ourselves a lot this year, and it's a credit to the team, also to Coach DeVries, because I think that, while this team is an elite defensive team, it's more the offensive side of the ball I'm talking about where we lack, which is no surprise. And I don't know where we go from here. I'm very disappointed. I really thought we could have pulled that win out. If we just would have had 2 more seconds, we win that game down the stretch there, because we would have shot a layup. It's just like the little things like that, man. The missed free throw from Okani and other little things. And we got a tough whistle tonight. It wasn't as bad as BYU, I don't think, but I felt like some of those fouls were very tic-tac, especially on the bigs. it's just there's no consistency. Like I said in a tweet or in a post I put out against BYU, I thought Cincinnati Harris and Javon died on a couple plays. And in this game, it was like you can't touch anybody. So let's get to a break, and we'll talk about where we go from here, because you got to have a next game up mentality. And the team you're going up against may be the hottest team in the league. We'll talk about that next on Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Factor Meals. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Well, Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. 40 options across 8 dietary preferences each week. You can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/lockedon50. That's factor.com/lockedcollege50 off. Sorry about that. 50% off your first box plus free shipping, and that's Locked On College 50 off. Factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off to get 50% off your free shipping on your first box. Thank you guys for sticking with me while I battle through this panic attack. It's messing with me bad. And I've seen somebody in the comments put take a nap. I'd say if you took my blood pressure right now, it's probably 160, 170, maybe higher. Sometimes it gets up over 200 when I'm having one of these. I had one recently that was 200 over 180. So, and at that point I can't breathe when that's happening. Like, there's no way I could do this if it was that high. But this is the first time. Normally in the past when I've had them, there's been somebody on like Coos that could talk while I tried to pass it off. But like in this situation, you just kind of got to be on. And I know you guys wanted to hear from me. So I don't have these often anymore since I got clean. Just a side note to this. I'm sure you guys are done hearing about it. But so when you get clean, your brain goes through a lot of chemical changes. And from what I understand, 5 years is a long time to be clean, but it's like not really enough time for your brain to fully 100% heal from the damage. Because I was doing, I've said it on here before, I was doing meth and heroin both. And although that's not something I'm proud of, it does educate me as to what my brain went through. And there is a huge, huge healing cycle for that. That takes, you can look it up, but meth sometimes 5, 7, 8 years, and heroin 3 to 5 years, I believe both. And so, chemically, my brain still has these issues that throw me off. So it's what I call the wreckage of my past. It's something I created for myself. And so I stand accountable in front of all you guys, even 5 years later, because I think I'm a walking testament as to what you don't want to turn out as. And dealing with things like this publicly are hard. So just wanted to say that. Let's look at the schedule. I think, Cincinnati coming in red hot. And I know they've got, I think Iowa State today. Let me look. Yeah, so that's a tie game at halftime right now. Even if they lose this game, they've got big wins over since the loss to us. They beat UCF, BYU, Utah, and those games weren't close. They're all double-digit wins, and now they're tied with a good Utah or Iowa State game and a half. And so I think coming into Morgantown, this is one of those games where something's got to give. Either their streak or our streak has to continue. And goodness, we hope it's not ours, because, we've got winnable games coming up that even still, this team is in a slump. I don't think these guys aren't going to give up. I mean, I still look at this like 16, 17, 18. You could still get to 20 wins if everything went perfect. Is that going to happen? No. I'm just saying, from the positive side of things, you can look at this remaining schedule and see like, man, this team could still win 20 games and this could be a non-factor. But you have to start it with Cincinnati and get this thing turned around. You have to get this turned around. So we'll see if they do. Frustrating, like I said, absolutely. Is it the end? No, I don't think it's the end. So I appreciate you guys for I'm sorry I got emotional. That was embarrassing too. I try not to do that. So yes, the wet spot on the floor did kill us. Goodness gracious, man. Like that's what I'm talking about. How are we so unlucky? We have the worst luck in the world, man, where it's like, how do these things happen to us? Like seriously, Javon Small gives off an incredible dish to Toby O'Connor, I just have to say, Toby always falls. Him and Sincere both are always slipping and falling. It's like they trip over their feet or something. It's like Darren DeVries, the coach. I think that's another thing. It's like even after this loss, the coaching job that Darren DeVries has done with this it's been incredible, man. Like they didn't have the resources to go out and get what they needed or wanted, which it could play a big factor later on. This is something that I haven't brought up yet, but I know for a fact that they asked for more money and didn't get it for the portal. And like there was a dinner with Ken Kendrick. Darren DeVries sat down with Ken Kendrick, and I don't know if he asked for money there, but I do know that, they needed one more big, from what I understand, or they needed one more player and didn't get the money for that. And I think, you look at this team right now and a Jaden Stone or any just one more player, this team's over the hump. And you look at like these last few games, if you had one more player, you likely win the BYU, you likely win the TCU, and you likely win the Baylor. It's the difference between 17 and 25 wins is one more player. And so if you aren't convinced that, if you're a donor and you're watching this, or, you're somebody that donates to the program in any way, I think even if this team kind of slips at the end of this season and maybe even doesn't get in, this team, I think Darren DeVries has absolutely proven he can get it done. He's doing it with less and has done it with less, even though the team is losing right now. I still believe in that guy. I've said it a couple times tonight, but if you give DeVries the full plate of what everybody else is dealing with, I think the sky is the true limit for him. And that's just my personal belief. I know I've repeated that a bunch, but I feel like it's important to say because there's going to be a lot of negativity that's going to come out over all this. And while I put the thumbnail up, crash and burn, because they are right now, but that doesn't mean I believe that going forward, they can't do better. If you can't tell, this panic attack is lifting on me here. So I'm starting to feel a little better. I can breathe again. Man, it was a rough stretch there for the first 18 minutes, guys. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me through it. I wasn't sure that I could even do it. I wasn't even sure if I could even do this. So that was hard, man. But I'm trying not to make this about me anymore. I know that you guys are probably like, God, will this guy quit complaining? But I feel like, that's why you guys come here, is because I don't have a filter about myself, and you guys are led into my personal life. And while I don't, bring my family into any of this, I do bring myself into it because I want to be an example of what not to do. I think that's extremely important with the platform that I have. And while it's not the biggest platform, by the numbers, I mean, I've done, we've done on this channel over 1 million views. And that to me is important, like since November, over 1 million views. So I find a lot of, first of all, I'm proud of that. But second of all, it shows like what you guys are. But third of all, it lets me know quite a few people see this. And so I know there are people struggling. that watch this. And so I just feel motivated sometimes to go into it just a little bit, not time to take over the show with it, but if I can, I felt like it was important for me to suffer on camera publicly because I want to be that walking example. So let's go to a break and get my final thoughts on this. Kind of sum everything up a little bit. I'll go over those 6 points that I had early, and again, because I want to reiterate a couple of them now that I'm feeling better, and kind of dive a little deeper into some of my stuff I said. Be right back. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to be on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and you can win. When you do, you get paid instantly. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you bet that first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Basketball Association. It says NBA, but I always like to spell it out. Same thing with the NFL. I will say it's the National Football League. Makes me sound cool. Yeah, I felt like we got some really bad calls today. I mean, look, I know I've complained about that a lot this year, but it just objectively, a couple of those fouls, the one where Oconee stepped in front of his defender and kind of ripped the ball up in the air and like it was tipped around and they called that foul. First of all, I wish that I wish like somebody like Javon Carter or somebody could get with him and show him how to take a charge. Like this team doesn't take charges, man. That's one thing I've noticed. I know they play tough defense, but there was a couple opportunities for this team to take charges when O'Meara was putting his shoulder down on the post. Like there have been opportunities this year. For whatever reason, this team just hasn't played to that. So the 5 reasons, like I said, I wrote these down before the show here. And so I said to begin the show, this team is officially in a slump on a bad streak. It's official now, if it wasn't already. I think this team peaked. This is the one I really wanted to get into, is I think the team peaked too soon. When you look at the stretch after Iona, you had West Virginia beating Gonzaga, losing to Louisville, and beating Arizona and Georgetown, NC Central, Bethune-Cookman, Mercyhurst, and then Kansas all in a row. Oklahoma State. Finally, you lose to Colorado, come right back, Arizona. Then you come right back and beat Colorado, but you lose to Houston. But then you beat Iowa State, right? And then you lose to K-State, Houston, and then you lose to, and you beat Cincinnati, and then it's kind of been, it's like that peak for this team anyway it started really to begin the year, I guess. I mean, outside of Pitt, you look at the win over Robert Morris, UMass, who I don't know what their record is right now. Let's look at see how I haven't even checked on UMass. I felt like they were had a chance to be an average team this year. They're 11-14, so not even quite average. So yeah, I guess I kind of misread UMass. I thought they were going to be better, honestly, based on how they played us tough. But this team, like, you go UMass, lost to Pitt, but then you go Iona, Gonzaga, lost to Louisville. Then you have Arizona, go Georgetown, NC Central, Bethune-Cookman, Mercyhurst, Kansas, and Oklahoma State all in a row. We peaked right then and there. And then we had a couple where we were back and forth, and then we beat Iowa State. And since then, it has been the exact opposite of what, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games of the season were. And, I remember that we all got hit with the flu and everybody was sick against Arizona State. And then that kind of fed into Kansas State. Houston was going to beat us whether we were sick or not. And then you get the Tucker news right around that time. You beat Cincinnati, and then Cincinnati's gone on this remarkable run. They're what we were before Cincinnati played us. And then you finally go on this stretch where you lose to TCU, but you beat Utah, but you lose to BYU and Baylor. So it's like, man, where did that consistency go? And how is this team, you hear it all the time, you want to peak in March, right? There's 5 games left. Can this team have another peak in it? Absolutely. I don't know if it can happen. I have doubts now. Before today, I still felt pretty good about it. And I did say, by the way, and I was right about this. I knew for sure West Virginia wasn't going to lose this game. They were plus 8.5. Like if I would have thought about it, I'd have bet them before the game because I knew it was going to be close. Heart attack city with this team every game. But this team has run out of gas, peaked too soon. They are officially in a slump. The team's got data on Javon Small. That was another big thing I was talking about. Javon, they tried moving him off the ball. They've tried switching on defense, trying to put him in different positions. Coming back down the court, they've tried, getting other guys involved. They've tried pairing him with different backcourt guys. It's just nothing's really the same as it was where he was coming off them screens like he was. That was when we were at our best. Teams aren't going to let us do it anymore. Morale's down due to the close losses, I believe. And you saw Javon get really upset versus BYU, I believe it was. Was it BYU? Might have been Utah, but I think it was BYU where it was just like, gosh, man. So I think we'll see exactly how far this team has fallen, or if they're still close to the same, we're just losing close games. Because I think that's like the main difference is, what's the difference? The main thing you can look at and say, what's the difference between this team in the first 17 games? Well, they beat Colorado in what was a 1-possession game. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat good. But like any of the good teams that this team has played, it's either gone to overtime or it's been really close. And when West Virginia's won, it's been 1 or 2 possessions. Now they're losing those games. You're not making the same winning plays. Javon Small was making those plays early in the season. Now he's the focal point of everybody, and they're trying to make other people beat him. It's like tonight. I felt like Javon Small should have forced a shot up. And you throw a pass to Jonathan Powell, who has a hard time catching the ball sometimes. If you haven't noticed, he drops the ball a lot or bobbles it a lot. Somebody needs to work with him on hand softness to get his hands because that messed him up on that shot at the end. Remember, he bobbled it and then picked it up and still was open. I feel like Javon should have shot that ball, but it is what it is, man. I don't have a lot else. I feel like I feel better. I'm sorry you guys had to deal with me for the first 18 minutes. I'm kind of like our team, except we're in the reverse, I guess. But I guess we have no choice but to wait till the next one. And it's frustrating, but we're going to be at home. They're going to need a good crowd for the game. And, I don't know what else to say about it. It's on the 19th, which is in 4 days. So this team gets a little bit of a rest. But I mean, what's today? Saturday. So that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday game. So that's a win. I count on my fingers. Laugh at me. but that's a Wednesday game. So we will see, man. We will see what happens going forward. I'm not out on this team, but I'm down on the team, but I'm not out on the team. There's still a chance for this team to get to 18, 20 wins. I mean, I think they'll lose to Texas Tech, but now you have to go 3-1 down the stretch to even get to that 19 number. You're going to be out of the tournament probably by Joe Lenardi this time. It's just too many losses now. But you got Cincinnati and Texas Tech up next. You got to beat Cincinnati. You're going on the road to play Tech. I don't see how you win that game, but if you do, it'll be a miracle. Then you've got TCU on the road at West Virginia. You go to BYU. There is no margin for error here. I'm not talking about the same team that beat Iowa State. If it was that team, I would say, like I did even then, I said, well, I mean, actually after Iowa State, when I looked at our schedule, like how I saw it anyway, was especially towards the end of the year, I said, well, I mean, after Baylor, you've got Cincinnati, you've got Texas Tech, which could be a loss, but you got Cincinnati, TCU, BYU, Utah, and UCF. Those should all be wins pre this slump. And I don't know what's going on, but this team has to turn it around. They need a big win. And knowing this team, they'll probably beat Texas Tech or something crazy. I mean, that's just how it's gone. It's like this team might have the best resume ever of a team that don't make it to the tournament. If they go like, let's say they only win two more games or something. Or this is the kind of team that will slump down a stretch and then turn it back on in the Big 12 tournament or something. But I am still a believer that because how hard this team is to prepare for on short notice, and because of Javon Small, because guards win championships, if this team gets in the tournament, I still believe this team could be dangerous. So that's where I'm going to leave you off, guys. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. Being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we talk about your team every single day. Don't forget, guys, don't make Locked On Big 12 your next listen, guys. My dude over there, Drake, does a great job covering the Big 12 and more. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for sticking with me throughout this episode, guys. It was a hard one to get through. I feel better now. I'm going to go chill out, maybe play a video game or something, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great evening. I'm out of here.